going to show you some of the new additions to our latest beta version of DataGraph. And I think some of these are really great. So I hope that you also, if you're not a beta user now, you might want to go ahead and try it out so you can download and try out some of these changes. First of all, you might notice how the thumbnails across the top now have the ability to go all the way across the top of the screen. In the past, when you opened and closed the column list on the left-hand side, that would also change the amount of space you had for the thumbnails. And personally, I think this makes the program run a lot smoother and feel smoother. I'm really happy with this addition. Now, one thing that does occur as a result of changing that is you do lose some of the space that you had for the column list itself. I'm going to do a follow-on video that talks a little bit more about using groups in order to help you manage the column list, that I think helps a lot when you have multiple columns. No matter what, groups are the way to manage that. So anyway, in this video, I'm going to continue talking about some of these other changes that are in the current beta. And the main thing that we did overall is that the mechanism underlying the data table has been completely rewritten. And as a result, we're able to handle even bigger data sets than before. In the past, you could go up to, say, 10 or 20 million rows of data and still be able to use DataGraph pretty effectively. Now we've tested rows up to 100 million and still have been having success with the program. So you might not need that much data, but if you do, DataGraph should be able to handle it for you. Next thing I want to point out, the groups that you use to manage your data are now shown within the data table itself. And this is, I think, a really, really nice improvement. In the past, for a data set like this, if you, for example, were only showing one set of data, you wouldn't necessarily know which one it belonged to. Here, it's pretty clear I'm showing group B out of these groups of data. And you can have multiple levels of groups, and they'll all be shown at the top of your data table. Next thing I want to show you is that we moved this gear menu that used to be located down at the bottom here. It's been moved up into this corner, and I really have been enjoying this. I wasn't really using this gear menu much before, but there's a lot of different shortcuts in here that you can explore. For example, importing data. You can go ahead and import files, kind of just drag and drop this over here to keep it in a group. And then you can see this, here's this data that I just brought in here. And there's a number of other nice shortcuts that are in this gear menu that you might want to try. For example, highlighting columns of data, multiple columns of data, and being able to change the data type. For example, I could change these to text. I actually don't want to do that, so I will Command Z out from that. But anyway, I think that you'll find there's a lot of handy shortcuts here that are more visible now that it's in this location. Next thing I want to show you is that you can edit the column names directly. In the past, to edit column names, you always had to do it over here in the column list on this side. Now you can do it directly in the column header. I can just double click on the column header and type my name that I want this to be, and use the tab. Oh, actually, that one would have been 1. Use the tab to move between the entries here. So I think that's, again, a really nice addition to make it easier to edit the names of your columns. One thing that is different as a result of that, in the past, when you double-clicked an entry here, it would actually open up the corresponding item within the column list so that you could edit it in the column list itself. Now you can still do that. You can still get that focus back on the item in the column list if you want it by double clicking over on the right hand side of the column header. So here I'm going to double click on the index column, or the one named indexed, and you can see now it opens up in the column list. Okay, next thing here, and this is another really, I think, really nice addition, is that we're able now to click on entries directly from the column list and to move, not only move them, you could do that before, but I can drag it and drop it on commands. So let's go ahead and create a new graph, and I'm going to add a scatter graph to this by clicking on the plots command. And here, well, I had the index column selected, so it automatically populated that. But say I wanted to plot time on my X and 1 as the Y. Really easy to just click and drag, the entries from the data table over.